All right, board gaming enthusiasts, an interesting statement. I was reading an article online talking about how the pandemic has killed the board gaming industry, how it's really taken a huge bite out of this idea of getting together and board games being physical. Yes, there are digital implementations. I mean, I'm playing Talisman, the digital implementation, all the time to test out new craziness and new tactics and new character combos, but being analog. Board gaming being analog, whether it's miniatures, cards, dice, tokens, counters, there's this interaction with the physical. There's this projection of the physical. There's this idea of sitting around an area or a table with your friends and creating that memory, creating that physical analog memory. That is the strength. That is one of the strengths of playing board games. So the fact that things have shifted or changed, or perhaps we're meeting differently, how has that affected the industry? And of course, naturally, in reading this article, my first thought was, yes, we've had to adjust various things. And perhaps depending on the situation, you're not getting together as often as you'd like. But then I'm looking at Kickstarter. I'm looking at some of my acquisitions through this time. And I really haven't slowed down my board gaming plays. It's shifted. Now, if you've been following my channel, one of the reasons I originally jumped into board gaming is I'm doing this wargaming thing. Okay, doing a lot of wargaming, doing a lot of D&D, and for the times that I couldn't wargame in D&D, I would build miniatures and build dungeon terrain, and then the times I couldn't do that, I'm like, I want to play a game. So I originally jumped into board gaming really with Runebound 2nd edition. I jumped in primarily for the solo play. This idea if it's like 3 a.m. in the morning and I need to unwind and I feel like playing a game, I can play a board game and it's just set up and it kind of sits there. So I jumped in to primarily solo play. And then, of course, that led into Descent. And Descent from there kind of led into the massive collection and that aspect of the gaming hobby that I enjoy. So certainly in this time, for me, there's been a tremendous shift. That's not to say I don't get together for Zombicide Invader. That's not to say we still don't meet once in a while for TI or KDM, Kingdom Death Monster. But primarily the shift for me has been solo play. And from that perspective, board gaming is amazing. And of course, some games you have to house rule or kind of make the decisions or AI to play solo, and other board games are written with a co-op or a complete solo mode. I mean, an example would be the Zombicide series, Black Plague, Modern, Invader. The game runs itself. You can play multiple characters. If you're crazy enough, you could play 1 or 2, right? Jumping from that perspective. So I see this as, yes, things have changed, but in many ways, I think things have intensified, and I almost wonder if board gaming sales are even higher based on this kind of unscientific thought. A friend of mine, when we play Zombicide, Modern. I don't have Modern in my collection. I don't have to because he has everything for it. He's an amazing painter and modeler, so everything is painted. I get to enjoy his copy. I get to play his copy. Anytime I'm like, hey, let's play some Zombicide Modern, he's like, yeah, let's do it because he loves the game and it's painted and I get to partake in that experience. I don't need a copy of that. But if I was playing solo, so that's one copy sold to him. If I'm playing solo and I really like the game, I can't get together with my friends. I can't necessarily get together with the community right now. So I purchase my own copy and play it. There's a lot of games at the club that if it's out, I'll play it. I enjoy it. I won't say I feel the need to own it, but if it wasn't available, Spartacus being a perfect example, we love it. From that perspective, maybe I would now purchase my own copy, although that game is deeply social. That's a deeply social game. I wouldn't necessarily AI it or solo play it from that perspective, if even possible. I guess you could randomize stuff and see how that goes. But from that perspective, that is a great example of there are certain games where I have not acquired them because I can play them with my friends or they have a copy or I know, hey, my buddy always brings that as a pickup game to the club. I don't need it. Well, now if there's a shift, and a massive shift to solo, that's more copies sold, whether that's a traditional distribution, independent, or Kickstarter. So your thoughts, how have things changed in board gaming? Has solo taken on more of a push, Or, do you see really things haven't changed, but a very, very interesting concept really over the past 2 years or so, how board gaming has shifted and changed with its presentation to both the individual and the community?